right, I think I'm live. All right, yep, it says I am live. Whew, it's been a minute since I did the last one of these. I think it's been at least 2 weeks. Oh, wow, awesome. Already got some comments. All right, Ashford, looking forward to some timpani and cymbal swells in here. Maybe even some scalar and arpeggio runs to smooth transitions. Yes, yes, we're going to do all kinds of really cool stuff with the percussion. I usually save percussion for one of the last steps I do. I'll typically do the sketch. I'll work on making sure the sketch sounds as good as I'd like it to. So finish sketching what we're doing here, then make it all sound a bit more smooth and more realistic. Make sure all the transitions are fleshed out a little bit. And then I'll add percussion, all right? Because percussion, when I first started out, percussion was something that really intimidated me. And so I just kind of got into the habit of saving it until last. And it works well for me that way. But yeah, good to see you, Ashford. All right, so yes, today is the day. I want to try and finish the rough draft sketch. What is this, 23 episodes in? Whew, it has been way too long. But yeah, let's finish the rough draft sketch today. And in order to do that, the first thing we need to do is we need to actually listen to this again so we know what we're working with. So let's hit play. All right, make sure that all sound familiar by this point. All right, and here we arrive at the part that we are going to need to be finishing. All right, so this is the last iteration of theme A before we're going to loop the whole thing. So this is the part we need to focus on. Now, as you were saying, Asher, yeah, there are some things to work on for transitioning. In particular, percussion would be great. Some of the dynamic jumps are a bit jarring. And things like the piano and harp coming in on the ostinato. All right, so this is a very dramatic entrance. This is an entrance of an entirely new layer. I mean, we've heard this ostinato earlier in the piece, but it's non-existent in the previous section. We have this very flowing, very lyrical phrase, and then it jumps right into this ostinato. So one way we do want to focus on transitions. You kind of want to, anytime a new element is coming in, you want to balance it with established material. So that will be something that we'll kind of gradually transition into a little bit better. After the sketching process is finished, that's pretty much a big chunk of what we have to do is go through instrument by instrument, line by line, make sure it sounds more natural, more expressive, like it's an actual performance and not just MIDI notes, and just making sure that the piece flows a little more musically. All right. Now today, our focus is on this last iteration of theme A. Theme A number 4, actually. So I think this actually starts a bit earlier. Yes, so I got to pull this back. I don't know why that was all messed up. Let's get that there. All right, so right now we have that melody in strings. What have we got it in? Violins 2 and violas. Let's swap that out to... Oops. Excuse me. Swap that out to violins 1 and violas. Let's make sure this doesn't cause any issues. Open this up. Let me see here. Alright, so that works. That makes a bit more sense. Violins 1 and violas are performing the melody in octaves. Now, of course, the next idea I would think is I kind of want to get that rhythmic idea in, because we need to transition from this, which is still, again, a bit of a rough draft. We'll make that sound a lot better by adding in percussion and, again, focusing on the performance quality and expressiveness. But either way, we have an ostinato here. And we also have an ostinato at A1, which is going to be our looping point. Now, who is this ostinato? This ostinato is in violin 2. So this is a great opportunity for us to put it in violins 2. All right, so this is a bit high. This was in the flute, in the harp. So first things first, let's drop this. Because this is all going to, what is that, an A5, which in MIDI is technically an A6 in scientific pitch notation. So that's the A all the way above high C. Let's drop this. That brings us down to the G just below middle C, which is the lowest note that a violin can play. Let's change our articulation here a bit. We'll go from legato to spiccato. We're going to lower that volume just a bit. All right, so I like that. Let's stick to things being very simple. Let's go in and throw in the bass line. Going to the sketch. We'll take our bass line here. And let's try putting this in the cello first. All right, so this is going to need to be adjusted. That is super quiet. All right, so yeah, right now I'm trying to get the basic material put down. All right, so I know that I need the bass line. The bass line helps anchor us to our harmony, even if the chords don't actually get played. And then we need the melody, and the rhythmic element we also need, because that rhythmic element needs to remain constant as it transitions to that looping point. So it helps keep things a little more fluid. Let's make this a little bit louder. Let's listen to this bass line. But those strings are a little overpowering in the melody, but we'll fix that. Like I said, this is just sketching. We just want to get our ideas out on the DAW. All right. Hey, dude, taking a break from writing gig, and luckily you were on. Love watching you. Been applying everything I learned from you and getting the work done. You rule so hard. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much. I'm glad you could make it. I really appreciate it. I really do. Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad life. I really enjoy teaching. I really enjoy doing these live videos with you guys, and I always get super excited when you guys share stories about how my lessons are actually being helpful, right? I had a student recently in private lessons who was just ecstatic over a concept. We were discussing a concept. It's called Secondary Dominance and the Extended Dominance Series. A fantastic tool for bringing kind of a jazzy feel, more urgency, more forward momentum to your chord progressions. It's a really fun style. It's a really fun tool. And we were just having a really good time exploring that. And I don't know why I started this story, but anywho, you guys make it really exciting for me to do this stuff. So thank you. All right, so we've got our bass line. Let's mute those violins. They become a little... Now, what happens if we added a bit more of a rhythmic element to this bass line? All right, so let's see. So we'll split this into eighth notes. Let's focus on, we had the G and the B, so we do then this one. So actually, let's do everything in between. And then we had this was a strong one. This is a strong one. There we go. Let's lower all of these down a little bit on velocity. We'll listen to just this first measure. That's going to require spiccato as well, not legato. You know, I kind of like that. I kind of like that, actually, quite a bit. Let's go around emulating that, actually. Alt plus cross. Counterpoint video was amazing. Finally figured out how to do it. Thanks to you. No one explains as well as you. We'll join your Patreon as soon as you can. Thank you so very much. I was actually really pleasantly excited about that counterpoint video. A lot of work went into it, and I got a really nice response from you guys. So I'm really grateful. I'm really excited that so many of you were able to find that useful. All right. Hey, welcome, Nikki. Glad to have you on here. Yes, secondary dominants are a really fun technique, and I'm right now I'm writing a bunch of scripts for a second series on harmony. I'm going to be talking a lot about reharmonization techniques, so how to take a chord progression and change it as you evolve, how to different techniques like secondary dominant, extended dominant series, a little bit more about borrowing from modes, a lot more in depth about cadences, deceptive cadences, all kinds of really cool, more advanced topics in harmony to make it interesting, to make it a little more useful for you guys to make unique and complex chord progressions. Let's see, where are we going? So the G here is emphasized, so that's good. And then I think that was the last one being emphasized in this quarter. But anyway, I'm excited about that series. I'm really grateful that you guys enjoyed the counterpoint video. That was actually one I was actually planning originally to do an entire series on counterpoint. And I realized, I was like, you know what? It's not really necessary. I mean, there are lots of great resources out there for if you want to learn Baroque period counterpoint and species counterpoint. But I find most people aren't actually looking for that so much as they're just looking how to write melodies that layer on top of each other. All right, and then I believe it repeats the same pattern of accents. So let's cut this up. So we had, let's see, well, these are 16th notes. So let's do 8th notes real quick. So we do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oops. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. Drop that. Let's give this a quick look. There we go. Yeah, it's all coming along. All right, there we go. I need these to be 16th notes, not 8th notes. All right. Yeah, and right here, I can get a little bit lost. So if I stop talking or if I stop explaining things, please point that out and make sure that I'm explaining everything as I go. Because this is supposed to be educational. You guys are supposed to see the reasoning I have behind all the decisions I make. All right, so let's go back to 8th notes. All right, so this one, I'm trying to mimic. Here what I'm doing is we have an arpeggio up here. All right, so we've got this arpeggio going. Let's mute it. So we've got that in second strings. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to mimic that on the bass line, at least the rhythmic idea in the accents. So we go with the cello I've got here. Go on. All right, so what we're hearing right now is something called machine gunning. All right, this is very common with sample libraries. What we have is it sounds very unrealistic. It sounds very much like the same exact note being played over and over and over and over again. It sounds like a sample library, and it doesn't sound very realistic. If you've ever heard an actual cello play fast notes, you'll be able to tell the difference. Now, the idea is, for now it's good. Like I said, right now we're just focusing on, trying to get, actually here's what we're going to do. Right now we're trying to focus on getting just our ideas written out. Just trying to get our ideas written in the DAW. And the next step after this, once we are done with our... Mute that, copy it. Once we are done with our sketch, we'll go about trying to make it a little more realistic, making an actual high-quality mock-up. And when we're doing that, I'll show you the strategies I have for getting rid of machine gunning. I'm making samples at very rapid repetitions like this sound more realistic. And I am distracting myself because we need to get that E up to G. Right now, I'm being lazy, and instead of trying to figure everything out, I'm just copying and pasting the original... copying and pasting my new rhythmic pattern with the old one, the velocity pattern, I should say. So this G comes down to E and then gets unmuted. Let's try this out. All right, so the difference is we've got different velocities here. So here you see the higher beams, these are a higher velocity. It looks like it's about 99, whereas the lower ones are closer to 78. The idea here is that the higher a velocity is, the more the note is accented, the more attack there is on that note. And that's what gives it a little bit of its rhythmic identity. Up here, the accents are all straight. So there's no accents, there's no really identity behind the rhythm here, just straight notes. So this E needs to go up to A. Bring it up to A, unmute it, and then this G needs to go up to B and then get unmuted. All right, so let's listen here. And then I see you guys have got some more comments. I'll take a look at those in just a second. All right, there we go. That's good enough. Let's add a regular bass line to those basses. Oh, one second. Comments. All right. Yes, I'll give you that harmony. Okay. Is it okay if we ask for video analysis for other series like you did about Ghibli? Of course. Of course you can ask for it. I have different levels of analyses that I do. On Patreon, I've started a new series where I'm doing audible analyses, where I analyze music just by listening. And I have a whole process for that. I think like a week or two ago, I did a video on the piece Hornet from Hollow Knight, which is an indie game that's very popular. I've received a lot of requests about Hollow Knight, actually. And I'm going to release a shortened version of that video on the YouTube channel next week. Where basically, I listen to it very intensely. It takes me hours to get through what it was like a 3-minute piece of music, and I spent hours and hours listening to it on repeat, listening to specific sections over and over again, and looking for specific things. And so I have got like an hour-long video on Patreon where I talk about all the big lessons I learned from that piece just by listening. And actually, it was actually quite the experience for me. Actually, that piece in particular taught me a new approach to orchestration. Or not a new approach, but a new concept in orchestration that I really am taking a lot more seriously now after I've heard how impactful it can be. And like I said, I'll be sharing like a 5-minute, 6-minute shortened version of it on YouTube next week. I'm trying to start releasing videos on Monday and Wednesday, and then live videos on Friday. Although it is Wednesday today, I'm going live because today the original plan was to release another template video where I was going to release a template video about sad music. Last week I did love themes. This week I was going to do sad music because they're very, very closely related to each other template-wise. But I've been busy and I wasn't able to finish the examples on time. So that will be released next week. And then Monday, I'm hopefully releasing that Hollow Knight video as well, talking about the lessons I learned from that. Now, for the Ghibli series, that was a lot more in-depth. That was, I've got it here somewhere, but I've got actual like sheet music. I had actual sheet music, piano reductions of the 5 pieces I did, and I spent well over 200 hours total, poring over each of those, analyzing every little bit of the music I could possibly find, and then finding what the most important lessons were and how to try and develop that. So that one, yes, I do want to do that, but sheet music is expensive, and the time commitment is just absolutely bonkers. So I do want to do that. I want to do that for the How to Train Your Dragon music by John Powell. I would love to do a very deep analysis of that. But for now, I'm sticking mostly, I think, to like the audible analysis, listening and seeing what I can learn by listening. On Patreon, you can make actual requests. I can't remember which tier it is, but if you are at a certain tier, your requests take priority, meaning that I guarantee I will do the piece that you request. It might take a little while because I've got a long list of pieces I need to do. But yeah, and then on the YouTube channel, I'll be releasing some more YouTube ones where just pieces that I want to analyze. But if you've got recommendations, shoot them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to look at it. If I like the piece, I'll add it to my list. Let's see here. Are you at all interested in serialism or modern concepts of composition? I wouldn't say I'm uninterested. I just haven't explored them very closely. A lot of my interest is in very, very lyrical, very melodic music. And that's gotten me in trouble a couple times. I've tried applying for a couple different things where it turns out that melodies aren't very in vogue, if you will, with modern academic music. And so sometimes if you write lots of lyrical, melody-heavy music, it's seen as, yeah, you're kind of a rube or something. But I enjoy it, so I keep writing music like that. And yeah, I wouldn't say I'm uninterested, but really the only kind of use I have found for more modern approaches has kind of been in like horror genre type music. And I'll be doing a template video about that as well. I did a video, I think, on... I don't think it was serialism, but it was another approach to harmony where I'm blanking. What is it called? I can't remember. But yeah, where you basically, it's a very, very dissonant approach to harmony from the modern era, or the modern era from like the early 1900s to late 1900s. But yeah, I'd be interested in learning more. Just at the moment, I'm content with the stuff I do. I like to understand how to make dissonant music while still having an explicit or implied harmony. Bloodborne music comes to mind, specifically Cleric Beast. I am familiar with that. Yes, tried doing something similar and failed. All right, so Cleric Beast, from what I understand, here's what I would recommend. Write a bass line. All right? Write a bass line, and then from the bass line, build your harmonies from there. All right, Cleric Beast very much has in kind of that if you want a dissonant kind of music that still has a cohesiveness, kind of like a melodic idea, write your melodic idea first, whether it's in the upper voices or in the bass line, whatever it is, and then write your harmony around that. And it is driving me bonkers, so I'm going to off screen here look at my playlists. I can't remember what that type of harmony is called, and I know I should know this. All right. I'm looking at my playlists. Where's my harmony playlist? Harmony for composers. Looking at this. And where is it? Harmony for hybrid tertiary. Set theory. Set theory. That's it. Set theory. All right. So if you look at my harmony video on set theory or horror film chords, that should be able to give you a nice little idea. But I would always say when you're trying to work with super dissonant stuff like that, that still has a melody, you have to start with the melody first. Then start with the melody, whether it's fragmented, whether it's lyrical, or if it's just kind of a bass line that works as your melody. Then build your dissonant harmony from there. Kind of gives you a bit of like a map to work with. Let's see. Bringing in some Persona for the next harmony series would be awesome as well. Lots of Japanese jazzy goodness all over. Yes. Yeah. I've never seen the Persona. I'm assuming that's an anime. I do enjoy anime quite a bit. A lot of my inspiration for music comes from shows, of obviously the Ghibli movies. Yeah, set theory. Yes, set theory is very much a more modern approach to harmony. The idea is that you take a chromatic scale, you start with a root note, assign it 0, and then every chromatic note above that, you assign a different number from 0 to 11. And I go very in-depth in it, not super in-depth, but in-depth enough in my video on it. And the idea is it's a very dissonant approach. Anytime you hear things like Clerical Beast or where there is that dissonant music, that dissonant crunchy sound, very often, especially in media music, like movies, films, anime, what have you, they're very frequently using set theory. All right, awesome. So it looks like I have caught up on comments. Let's take a look back at the music. Oops. Am I still streaming? All right, good. I accidentally hit the space bar when I wasn't selecting Cubase. I was selecting my streaming window, and it did something. I think I'm still streaming. All right. Yeah, you guys will let me know if something happened. All right, here we go. All right, now I remember what we were going to do. I was going to take the bass line from the sketch and I was going to put it in the basses. And I wasn't going to actually have it be lower than the cello because that more climactic piece in section A3 had super heavy bass going very low. We even used the contrabassoon in its super low register. So let's take this. What is this? This is low C. Low C is the lowest that the cello can go. Yeah, I think this is... Because the lowest that the bass can go is an octave lower than low C. So C1, or in MIDI, it would be C0. So let's try this. All right, good enough, good enough. All right, so when we are writing a more transitionary piece like this, we want to look at where we are coming from and where we are going, especially orchestrationally. So we are going to loop back, and we're not actually going to come to the measure 1, because measure 1 is the intro. All right? We're going to go to measure 9. And let me unsolo this. All right, so it looks like in section A1, we just have strings and solo harp. Do we have anything going on in the woodwinds? Does not look like it. So that's what we need to transition to. We need to transition from our big climactic moment into a moment of just strings and solo harp. So let's look at where we were here. And let's see where we were at for this section. So, I mean, that's obviously not going to be the final product for that section. But the general idea is there. Big octaves in the melodies and super low, heavy bass, providing a lot of power. So right off the bat, we have contrabassoon performing in its super low register, which gives a tremendous weight. It's like the contrabassoon is one of two wind instruments that can just go ridiculously low. It's the bass trombone and the contrabass bassoon are both able to go all the way down to a B flat 0. That is 2 octaves lower than low C. That's 2 octaves lower than the bass clef can go. So ridiculously low. It's the kind of thing that you feel it rattling your bones when it's playing this low. Let's solo it. All right, so I actually don't have... Okay, there it is a little bit. All right, so the contrabassoon kind of here isn't playing in its lowest register. If we were to do that, we'd drop it. And this is what I was talking about. And yes. Oh, I love working with this. And I'll discuss this in my upcoming new series on orchestration that I'm also busy writing a bunch of scripts for. The contrabass bassoon, and as with most instruments that have very large ranges, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because the contrabass bassoon can go that low doesn't mean that you should always go that low, and I've seen that I decided not to go that low, so I'm going to stick with that idea. That low register is really just massive, and of the two instruments that can play that low, the contrabass bassoon is just ridiculously overpowerful. It's a double-reeded instruments. Double-reeded instruments get more powerful the lower in the range they go, and this is really like room-shaking register. So if you use it too much, it's kind of like using too much frosting on a cake. It seems awesome at first, but then it just starts to make your teeth itch. All right, and you're just like, this is all right. It's too much of a good thing. So the lowest register of the contrabass bassoon is typically saved for short moments where you want that power. And I feel like it was, if we weren't quite there yet for this theme, especially if we want to loop it. Because if we're looping this, then returning to that super low register over and over and over again would get fatiguing to the audience. So, anywho, we've got this. And then we've got the bassoon. All right, so why did I bring this up in the first place? I brought this up because these are some voices that are present in A3 that are not present in A1, which means we need to gradually fade them out. I think we can probably drop the contrabass bassoon out entirely, all right, and just save that for that big climactic moment, and we can return to bassoon. Why did it not post? There we go. What is going on here? There we go. There we go. All right, let's fuse these together, make sure that it's in the same register. It is not, so let's raise this up. The basses are playing that low anyways, so. All right, there we go, there we go. All right, so we're getting there. And again, remember, whenever you're writing, the whole process of the sketching phase is just to get your ideas down. As we start to make things sound a little more realistic, we will, of course, start dropping things, adding things, doing all kinds of stuff with our material that we have. But right now, we just want a minimal viable product. Let's take this part that was in the piccolo, where it was accenting the already pre-existing accents in our music. And let's see here. So this would be C5, technically, up to high C. So yeah, this is all well within the flute's powerful middle register. All right, good enough. So now we've got our woodwinds here, and then we will gradually, eventually, what we're gonna do, actually let's start to do this with the bassoons a bit, is we'll just start gradually fading them out. So we've got a 8-bar phrase here, so at the 4th bar, let's start fading out. At the very last beat, we'll have it, let's say, mezzo piano. So we go from fortissimo to mezzo piano. And those probably aren't our final dynamics, but. We'll do the same thing here. We'll tell the flute to start getting quieter. Here, we'll also do mezzo piano. We will switch this to decrescendo. Those violins are getting quite fatiguing to listen to. Ah, we got more comments. Let's see. It's a JRPG, but calling it an anime would be very accurate. This is some good tier music here. Check out the music from Persona 5. There are some very interesting harmonies in there. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's always a bit nerve-wracking going live with this stuff because, to my knowledge, there aren't any other YouTubers who do this. And the more I do this, the more I kind of in the back of my mind, I'm realizing why. I'm being very raw and vulnerable with my process here. You guys are seeing more than the finished product. You're seeing all the ups and downs of it, and some days are better than others. But I feel like that's important because a lot of the time, especially I remember when I was learning mostly off of YouTube, you see all these wonderful, beautiful pieces that are finished, or you see some incredible tutorials by people like Alex Mukula, just beautiful arrangements. And you can very quickly get intimidated or disheartened about comparing yourself to them. And so that's kind of what I wanted to do here is I wanted to show behind the curtains kind of thing, show the man behind the curtain, if you will. And that it is a process. It is a process. Anywho, I'm rambling again. Let's see here. But yeah, I'll check out Persona 5. I'm always interested in hearing good music. Hey, good to see you, Aditya. Thank you for coming by. And gonna grab a bite. Have to go. I'll check the video later. That's for a bunch for doing this, man. Really appreciate it. Great to have you. Thank you very much. Glad you could stop by. Good luck with the rest of your writing. Or was that Ashford who was writing? Nope, that was you. All right. Have a good one. Let's see here. But we are. Let's see. How does this sound? We'll circle back. Let's start with the tail end of our climactic moment. We'll see how this sounds. All right, so obviously dynamics aside, because we are going to have to smooth out that transition to the dynamics, and that's easy enough. The material is similar enough, but I'm starting to wonder if it's too similar. All right, so one thing we might end up doing is we might end up changing this melody. All right, we might go with the much stronger variation of the melody so that the basic ideas are still there, but that when we loop, we don't just get 4 sections of the same melody over and over and over and over and over and over again. All right, because that gets very fatiguing very quickly. It gets annoying, and it's why some music just doesn't sound that good, if I can be blunt. Just too much repetition without enough variation. I think that's exactly what we are going to have to do. So let's return to our sketch real quick. All right, so remember the piano sketch is the first thing we worked on. It contains the melody, the chords, and the bass line. If we had a counter melody, it would be included here as well. All right, so yeah, we have got this, and let's see, what chord does this end on? It ends on an E minor. What key is this again? Let's see if I can figure this out. That's a B minor. That is an A. I'm already tired of this. All right, I'm not figuring out what key it is in. I always have difficulty trying to figure out what key stuff is in, starting with Cubase. Because Cubase does this maddeningly annoying thing where it uses only sharps. I've tried to find ways to switch it to flats, but as far as I've come to find out, you can't switch it. You just got to stick with it. So you're stuck with all these enharmonic spellings, and it makes it difficult for me to figure things out. I bet if we went back in my notes or checked an earlier video, I could figure it out. But so we have our secondary theme. I actually kind of like this secondary theme quite a bit. Alright, so then we've got a primary theme. We've got that transition. Alright, and that's C sharp and B. Oh, my keyboard is not working. I was going to play it. There we go, yep. That's a very dissonant interval. I've noticed that every time we play back as well. It doesn't play off as well as I had hoped it would, so we're probably going to have to change that. Maybe moving that up to a D. We'll see. Let's try actually that right now. It works a little bit better. We'll leave it there for now. We'll fix that in the touch-ups. Right now, my big priority is we've just got this super repetitive melody. So we've got... I'm going to zoom in a little bit. B, B... And my keyboard doesn't go high enough. I got a tiny little keyboard. I got a much bigger one behind me, but I don't use that one as often. Mostly just for practicing piano, which I also do not do nearly often enough. Let's see. I got some more comments. All right. It's really helpful seeing the harder parts of the process when we face those challenging moments ourselves. It's empowering to see someone who overcame that. Yes, exactly. And that's why I try to do this. There have been, you remember that disastrous first attempt I had at a melodic idea? I had all these crazy ideas. I was excited for it. I still think they were good ideas, bad execution. But if you watched like the earliest videos in this series, it just had that terrible like rhythmic heavy piece. It just, yeah. And there's moments like that where you just don't feel like you did anything. I definitely have those moments, especially at the beginning of writing a piece. Right now, I've got a piece I was commissioned for someone out in New York. And it's for a play, and I've got all these wonderful ideas for how I want to represent it, but the idea is just getting that first melodic idea. Especially with commissions, you get, like, it gets in your head, it's got to be perfect. And so I can spend, it's all right. I typically like to spend days just figuring out the right motif, figuring out the right melody, as long as I have the time to spend on it. Definitely more than just an hour a week like I've been doing with these. But yeah. So yeah, there are definitely moments where you feel like you're banging your head against the keyboard and just nothing's working. And the reassuring thing is that happens on all levels. I remember in his masterclass, Hans Zimmer says he'll send his engineers out left and right to sample obscure things so he can lock himself in his room and can think about how he's a fraud and everyone's going to find out he can't write any more music kind of thing. But then, of course, we all know that's not true. Pinar Toprak feels the same way. John Powell has said he feels the same way. Basically, every great modern composer, film music, concert, otherwise, we all have this kind of panic mode at the beginning of new projects. Like, was that it? Did I just write the last piece of good music I'll ever write? And of course you haven't. There's always another tune to be written. There's always another story to be told. But it's easy to get in your own head about that kind of stuff. Let's see. You are very true about that tutorial. They don't really show the process, and to really watch the process is very helpful, and hopefully it makes it feel human. Thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Just make it feel more human. My biggest goal with this entire channel is just to make composition more accessible. Anyone who wants to write music can write music, and there's no magic behind it. I mean, there's always a little bit of magic, but it's not one of those things where you're either born with it or you're not. It's a skill set just like anyone who wants to write music can write music. That's what I'm trying to show. All right, now back to the problem at hand. You know what happens? First thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to copy and paste this melody. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to paste it. Oops, not there. I'm going to paste it in the right spot. I'm going to raise it several octaves and mute it so that if we have to, we can always do a hard reset. But I am very quickly getting, like that last playthrough, I noticed, where was it, this part. What if we started with that this time? So what do we've got? A G major underneath that. What's our first chord here? D major. So we started with the 1 and we led to the 3 using an 8th note. So what happens if, no, it's not a D major. We're over here. We're on measure 47. And we are at a E minor. So what happens if we delete this? What happens if we grab this, put it here, and what if we, actually this could work as a reharmonization, because G and B are both strong notes, chordal tones in E minor. What? Hold up, that did not sound very different. Okay, maybe I'm just hearing things. Let's listen to the thing again. We're gonna mute this so we don't have that crunchy dissonance. No. Did not sound good to me. You know, what happens if we try going back to some of that secondary theme? Let's try copying and pasting this. Where am I? Measure 47. Let's delete that. And I've already forgotten what measure it starts at. It starts on beat 1, and this is a different time signature, so it will require a little bit of modification. So D does not belong to E minor. It would belong to E minor 7. But we're not working with E minor 7, are we? Or are we, actually? Let's listen. maybe. Let's shorten this. Okay, what is this measure up here? So we got the B, A, G, B, A, G. So that's the original. Let's delete the F. No. That's not working for me either. All right, so yeah, here we have me just struggling again on the struggle bus. That's all right. So yeah, I really want to redo this last phrase of the harmony, and I think the arrangement's fine. We've got the basic idea of the instruments we want, so now the last idea here is to change the melody and just replace this new melodic idea with whatever is playing in the underlying harmony. Actually, you know what? What happens if we just remove the melody? What about that? Where's the melody? All right, we got violin 1. And then very quietly listen. I'm getting an idea. I'm just gonna sit here with my mouth open like a fool. Something just happened. I like that. I got this struck by the muses. Got an idea. I like it. I kind of want to embellish the bass line a little bit. I want to swap out the melody for the bass line. What happens if we remove those upper strings almost entirely? Huh. You know what? I like that. I like that quite a bit, actually. It gives us a break from the melody and acts as like an interlude. But then what do we fill that space with? Because there is a gap of missing space. We could try adding the bass line into another voice, a voice that we haven't quite heard. We could bring the bassoons into the foreground. I don't want to use the horns. Horns are another idea that jumps out into my mind right now. The horns would be great right here. Only problem is in section 1, we have a solo horn. If it will play. No, that's measure 1. We want measure 9. So yeah, we've got the solo horn there. And so bringing in the horns in this interlude, I feel like would be overkill. It would subtract from like the majesty of that horn solo. So what do we do? I can't go back to having a melody. All right. In fact, I'm going to delete this melody from the sketch just to show how determined I am to remove this melody entirely. All right. Well, we'll drop it. We'll keep that sketch in place. One more octave. There we go. So we've got it muted in case I change my mind, which happens often. I don't think it'll happen this time. I feel like there's something we should do with the bass line. All right, so what instruments do I have in the brass section playing? The tuba should still be playing, right? The tuba is not playing. Let's fix that. All right, measure 47 is where this section starts. I really like this. I think the bass line is going to be the key to this. I think it'll take the foreground. We'll focus on having a nice expressive, sustained texture going on with those arpeggios and the ostinato in the background. I guess those aren't arpeggios. They're just ostinatos or ostinati. Let's throw this in the tuba. Let's make sure it's an appropriate range. The tuba has a range of D1 to G4, I believe. D1 to F2 is the lowest register. That is a non-preferred register for bass lines. It's a bit more ambiguous. So we want to try and keep it between here and here. This one goes a little higher. Let's try dropping that an octave. All right, so this would be kind of flirting with the line between the low register and preferred middle register, but it should work. Because it's high enough in the low register that the issues that come with it. And it's sustained. The biggest issue with the lowest register is it's difficult to perform with proper tone color, but this is a sustained texture. It's not, doesn't need to be agile. So it should be fine. And of course we want to fix that dynamics. We'll have it be mezzo forte, and these last four will come down to piano. Just for now, let's put this here. All right, you know what? That's what we call good enough. I think that's a good enough idea. We've got, again, sticking true to the concept of sketching. We're just getting enough. We're getting enough to feel like it's good enough. And from here, next week, or maybe even Friday. Yeah, probably Friday, actually. I've got company coming over on Friday. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to make any promises, but the next time we go live, I can say our focus will be on making this more realistic. We'll take things one line at a time. We'll go one section at a time. We'll do things like making the horn solo sound a bit more realistic. We'll definitely do some cool tricks with the ostinati, sustained chords, making it sound expressive and real, making it more of an actual mock-up and not just a sketch. And as we go through that, we'll make changes, of course. Right now we've got just enough down for us to get the basic idea and the emotion and the basic structure that we're looking for. As we go by making it more realistic, we will add more stuff. In particular, percussion, right? Once everything sounds more realistic, that's when we will go through with percussion. If you saw my old series on orchestration, and I plan on rebooting it, but I talk about the 7 traditional uses of percussion, and we will go through this and we will tackle each of those 7 traditional uses and see where they can fit in. Okay? Whether it's doubling for color, ostinati, extreme dynamics, solo statements, harmonic support, builds and climaxes, or highlighting accents or accented moments. And we'll go through that. We'll make sure that there's a good place for each of the percussion instruments. And then once we have got our mock-up happy and where we're at, we will start to mix this. We will discuss the most important parameters of mixing. We'll discuss reverb, panning, delay, and then we'll do a little bit of mastering. We'll just touch up a little bit with a little more, kind of like a tiny bit of more reverb for the glue. Maybe EQ. I try to avoid EQ unless I have a deliberate reason to use it. And then a tad bit of compression. And we'll make all that to make it sound as nice and as useful as possible, as beautiful as possible. And once we have that, then we can finally move on to step 2 of this entire process and rearrange this basic material into different types of emotions. We can make sad music. I believe it was sad music. This is kind of like the heroic theme, so maybe we'll do a battle music focused heavy one, like dungeon music idea. The idea was just to see how many different directions we can take this one theme. Now, we've got a few more minutes before the hour is up, so as always, if you have any questions, anything at all, toss them in the comments. I'll be here for a little bit longer, and I'll see what I can do about them. All right, let's see. Yeah, so I know there's a bit of a lag between the live chat and when you guys hear what I'm saying. So I'll wait a little bit. If you got any questions, great. If not, we can probably call it early. My tea is still warm. That's nice. That's encouraging. All right. I am getting to the phase where I think I am officially starting to get sick of this music, which happens with pretty much everything I work on. Whenever you're writing music, there's a phase where you go through it and you just don't want to hear it anymore. You're just sick of it. You've heard it hundreds, if not thousands of times. And then there's always the moment when you finish it and you want to listen to it a couple more times and it finds new excitement for you before it gets super annoying again. And that's just because you hear it so often. And you, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody. I always tend to be my own worst critic. Let's see. Got some more stuff. How are things with me? They're doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. I got hit with some bad stuff at the beginning of the year. So I was supposed to, for those of you who've been following, I was supposed to move to Boston in January. I was supposed to start studying full time at Berkeley's campus, and that didn't end up happening for a host of a couple of reasons I'll keep close to my chest. The big one being finances. Some things happened, and I just unfortunately wasn't able to afford it anymore. But so that was a huge bummer, a mondo bummer, if you will. But it kind of worked out. I mean, the worst part of that is because I had accepted my place in the campus program, I was no longer allowed to study online, which that was a huge blow for me. So you'll notice that if you've been along for a while, you'll notice that none of my videos say Patreon supports my tuition payments anymore because, well, I have no more tuition payments, and that's all right. It took me a moment. I was panicking at first, but I'm doing much better now, and it's made me realize, like, you know what? I'm good enough. All right. I've got a strong foundation. All right. I don't need to continue studying unless I want to continue studying. And I've still got books. I've got a whole massive bookshelf next to me right now. You can't see off screen, but filled with books that I am currently reading, and I'm studying, and I'm learning new things. I'm teaching myself new things again, and it's going really well. It's and not having classes anymore has opened up my schedule a lot. So I've started being able to take more students, and that's really fun. I really love working with private lessons. So if you're interested, check out my website. I think I have the link in the description of this video. But I really enjoy working one-on-one with people and just kind of sharing and having breakthroughs with them about different stuff that they want to learn. It's given me more time to really start focusing on my channel and focusing on the work I do here. It's given me time to start taking more commissions and start writing more. And so really, it's one of those things where it seemed like a huge gut punch when it happened. But now I realize I'm fine. I'm doing really well. So thank you. That was I unpacked a bit more than I anticipated to unpack there. But now I've shared that story, and yeah, I'm in a good place now, though. Like I said, now that I'm not studying full time, I have a lot more time to write the things I want to write, to work on the videos I want to work on. And like I said, I've got a couple big projects coming for this channel. Right now, I'm writing, I think, like the Harmony series that I'm going to be doing soon has something like 16 episodes. The orchestration series, I'm going start to finish on very, very in-depth on orchestrations. This time specifically geared towards MIDI orchestration, like on this. And that one, I think I've already got like 25 episodes planned. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I've been planning, a whole bunch of scripts I've been writing. And then on top of that, I want to do template videos. I want to share some more learn by listening videos. I've been doing those on Patreon. I want to start releasing some versions. I talked about that earlier in this video, but releasing some of those on the channel. And so, yeah, it's fun. Like I said, I've got a couple commissions here and there. The big one I'm working on right now is, like I said, for a play out in, being written by a grad student out in New York. So that's really fun. That's really exciting. And yeah, I'm in a good place. So yeah, I unpacked a lot there. So sorry for oversharing. But yeah, the answer to your question, I am doing very well. Thank you. Let's see, how are Berkeley things going? Just answered that. Oh no, did you think it forced you to be more independent in a way? Glad you're here in a good place now. Yes, it really forced me to be a lot more, well, independent. I guess it depends on how you depend on independence. Like I said, it was a big blow because I had an apartment figured out and everything. Fortunately, the person I was going to sublease from was very understanding. I told them this, everything that was going on. They were very understanding, so I didn't lose any money on that. They were very kind. I'm very grateful for them. And it hasn't really. I've always kind of been independent, but it forced me to once again take the reins on my own education and say, all right, so now I'm not going to be focusing on learning things that I need for my degree because I am no longer getting my degree. Now I am focusing on the things that I want to learn. Like I said, I've got a stack full of books. One of the first things I did after that is I bought a lot of books that were on my wish list. A lot of things that I was saving for down the line to teach myself. And I just bought them and I started finally opening the books and studying and taking control of my own education again. It's been really fun. I've been learning a lot of things that I've wanted to learn for a very long time. I've been going a lot more in depth on reharmonization techniques. I've always kind of had a strong understanding of reharmonization and harmony. Harmony is one of my favorite things to study. So now being able to go even deeper and learn more abstract ways to adapt my own style is awesome. Again, I've got a strong foundation in orchestration, but I've purchased a bunch of orchestration books as well because you can always learn something new. And yeah, so it has forced me to take a lot more control over the things I'm teaching myself. And it requires a little bit more discipline when I'm teaching myself. Instead of having specific classes and homework assignments, I have to be the one to make sure I'm applying the things I'm learning. I have to be the one to make sure I'm using the things I'm learning. But yeah, like I said, it's so yeah, I guess it depends on how you define independence. But yeah, I'm doing pretty well, and I feel like I've got a good trajectory. It's gonna be a good year for me, I think. All right, awesome. So, yes. So I answered the question about how Berkeley things are going. Are there any other questions? It's 5:01 from my clock, so we'll see. I'll stay in for a couple more minutes. If there are any more questions, go for it. Any topics you'd like to see discussed? Any behind the scenes kind of stuff? Any recommendations for what you'd like to see in the channel? Anything? Go for it. If not, if I don't hear anything within like a minute or two, I'll probably call it a day here. Oh, on personal note, I'm excited. I'm a bit nerdy in that I like to track every hour I spend writing music and studying writing music, and I am coming up on my 3,000th hour studying music, and I think that's over the course of like 3 years. I'm like averaging like 1,000 hours a year. That's not bad. I'm hoping to get those numbers up. I want to hit that 10,000 hour marker where you can call yourself an expert. Well, let's see here. Do you ever get pulled in different directions with what style and genre you want to write in? If so, how do you choose which one to stick with? Oh, yes, all the time. So for example, the kind of Studio Ghibli style music is the style that I'm I'd say probably most well known for. Most of the pieces that I get commissioned to write are in that style. Typically like piano solos. So a lot of my commissions are actually like wedding marches. Early on, I started writing wedding marches for, I think that the first one I did is my best friend's sister was getting married, and she was interested in something a little unique. So he and I collaborated on writing a brand new wedding march for her, and that kind of got the ball rolling. So I get commissions every once in a while to write new original wedding marches, and a lot of those are kind of within the Studio Ghibli kind of style. I've done a couple funerals as well, things like that. And then I also get just different things on the side. But yeah, so that's my general style, but there's all different kinds of styles I love to go in. And so like right now I've been focusing a lot on electronic music. Electronic music has been a weakness for mine for a very long time. And so I spent some time studying it with Berkeley, and now I'm taking my own education in my own hand. And the same buddy of mine, he's actually a therapist. He's actually the one who collaborated on the book with me to develop the tool on emotions in music. So he and I have been learning how to use different synthesizers together because he's getting to a place where we can start having more time for his music and his hobbies and stuff. Right now, I am really going in depth on Contact 6 as a sampler and as a synthesizer. I've been reading the manual. I've got my flashcards. I've been studying it because eventually I do want to start making my own sample libraries. And while I'm learning how to make those sample libraries, I'm learning how to make more synthetic sounds with it as well. I just started learning about the authentic expression technique filter or technology filter in Contact, which is awesome. Basically, you take one sound, one sample, and you gradually morph it into another one. And I'm super excited to be working with that. But so your question, because I'm rambling again. Your question was, how do I balance between that? I start with what my biggest priorities are. So like which pieces take priority? Typically that's a commission. It's one that I have been commissioned to write, and I need to make sure that is done by a deadline. If that's the case, I stick to that. I make it a priority. But I do make sure that I have hobby music as well. So I'll typically have a piece that I have to write, whether it's a commission or it's an example for a series on YouTube. I have things that need to be written by a certain amount of time, and those are the ones that I spend a lot of time on, regimented. But then when I just want to do something fun, I have countless other files on Cubase of just different styles, different genres that I want to explore, I want to learn about. Sometimes I'll get on and I'll just try making a new synth. I'm terrible at it, but I'll get better. And yeah, so I guess that would come down to your priorities. Figure out what you need to focus on, what your highest priority is to focus on, and dedicate the majority of your time there. Anything else you want to dabble with, go for it. Just kind of treat it as like a hobby at that point. Make sense? I hope that helps. All right, let's see here. Do you ever get pulled in different? Stopping by to say thanks for 101 videos. Wait, what? No. Have I done 101 videos? Real? Oh, wow. All right, well, awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, and you're welcome. Wow, 101. Really? Huh, you think YouTube would have said something? They'll tell me when one of my videos is performing. All those, like, send confetti all over my screen. Wow, 101 videos. Really? I gotta do something for that. I gotta make like an Instagram post or something. That's awesome. You know, maybe I'll do like a special edition video or something. We'll see. Awesome. Thanks for letting me know, Ryan. That's awesome. And you're welcome. I'm glad. Some of them are definitely more useful than others, but I'm proud of every video on here. I really am. If just because I can go back to the very first video I've made, which was the Ghibli chords video. And there's all kinds of mistakes in that one, but I don't care. Because it was the first time I got excited about something I had discovered. It was the first time I got so excited that I wanted to share it with other people. I don't have a lot of musicians. Well, I mean, I have a ton of musicians in my circle, but I don't have a lot of people who are super serious about music and writing music or music theory in general. So that video was put up there because I got so excited I wanted to share it. And from going super excited about some little idea I had discovered to having a much more disciplined mastery over music theory and composition skill set, it's really fun kind of seeing the journey I've been on with this channel and the journey I've been able to share with all of you. All right, awesome. So I think that is where we will leave it off. The concurrent viewers are dropping off. It has been over an hour at this point. So I'm going to end the stream. I hope you all learned something. Next video, we're going to start making it more realistic as a mock-up and fine-tuning it. As always, keep studying, keep working hard, and keep writing new music. And if you would like to support show your support for this channel, consider becoming a patron, purchasing a copy of my book on film scoring, or even or becoming a personal, like a private student, whatever. And just helpful, supportive comments are really nice too. So thank you very much. With that, have a good one, everybody. See ya.